We're finally here. It is time to do it. I have made my way through about 40 odd albums that you guys sent my way as gems that had been undiscovered and hadn't gotten enough attention, but you had discovered them for me to make a video on, as I do every year on this channel. And we have finally narrowed it down to 10 picks that I can share with everybody watching these videos as potential album of the year recommendations. Because let me tell you right now, there's some saucy picks, some saucy releases in this bunch of 10 albums that I've been sent by you. If you'd like to support this channel in more ways than one, firstly, you can subscribe, that would be amazing, and like the video and share it around. And also be a member of my Patreon, and you can get lots of perks through there. There's lots of fun lists on the way this year, coming for year-end list season. And there's been plenty I've done throughout the month of December. So please check out all of the things that you can get via Patreon, and also please just subscribe because there's more and more videos on the way. And yeah, let's get into the 10 picks now. So as always, I ask you guys on Twitter, and I do it on YouTube as well, what are some gems that have been undiscovered? Because I like to focus on those kinds of albums on this channel that deserve more attention, and I've checked out as many as I possibly could, and I have decided that there are 10 picks here that I think are absolutely worthwhile. Not everything I tried I liked, unfortunately, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, as they say, but there's certainly a lot of diverse picks here that you guys have found for me that I want to highlight. Got to start with one of the most interesting artists I think I have been sent over, as the same person that sent me this artist did send my album of the year last year, by the way, which was insane. Emily Steinwall, and ooodisea, I think is how you say it, is a huge potential album of the year contender for many people out there. That isn't quite me, but I still think this is one of the best releases that I was sent my way on this, out of the entire albums that were sent to me, and it truly is getting massively overlooked. I think it's one Fantano review away, one needle drop review away from being one of the biggest cult classics of 2022. I don't know if he has reviewed it, or unless I've just missed it or something like that, maybe he's talked about it somewhere, but this could be huge. It's got that lingua ignota feel to it, with the kind of guttural sort of emotions being poured all into the music. It's a very show not tell album. I think this album is very much in the emotions behind the wailing and the vocal sort of riffing that ooodisea presents over some really luscious instrumentals. It's a really interesting listen, and the more you listen to it, the more you unpack what she's going for on this thing, and it truly is a special sort of album in that sense. It doesn't quite give you all what you want to be laid out in front of you like a narrative story, you know. It doesn't tell you everything that you need to know. You have to kind of figure it out yourself. There's a few lyrics here and there that you pick up on and go, ah, this is what she's going for. But seriously, a huge potential for a cult classic amongst the music nerds, this one. This was a really good listen. Totally different album next. I mean, all of these albums are going to be very different to one another, but Jyocho, the Japanese math rock band that really know how to lay some great guitar work. I mean, that is one of the specialities of this genre, and if you find a band that are really good at that, then you can't really fault it for its, you know, brilliance in how it presents the guitar work. But yeah, this was really good. It's atmospheric at times as well. It's a really enjoyable release. It's super short, so if you've got, like, you know, a spare half an hour in your day, you can surely fit this in. Charley Crockett next. Look, I used to try and keep on top of as many country releases as I could on this channel. I'm no Spectrum Pulse, I would never say I am when it comes to country music. That guy is the man to go to for this genre. But I've definitely slowed down, and it was nice to see someone send me some country music this way as well, because it gives me an opportunity to finally check out some 2022 country music. And Charley Crockett, man, this is definitely an unsung hero of the genre. I'm really surprised that more people aren't really talking about this who are lovers of the genre country music. But then again, it's a hard sell. I don't know why, but a lot of people, even who love music, will often go, I like everything but country music, but this is really good. And he actually diversifies it up in the track list as well, so it's not just your typical country album from start to end. There's some detours into some really cool little genre fusions that I was pretty impressed with. Really good stuff. Want to mention Duval Timothy as a nice little jazz release here. Really, really beautiful stuff being presented. Very low key, but when you kind of let the instrumentals just wash over you, it can be really lovely to listen to. And easily the best track, and I'm not surprised at this at all, is the one with Jyocho, who I did review last year, right at the start of 2021. The Jyocho album was really good. And the Jyocho feature on this album is fantastic as well. That was a great track. So if you're going to try anything from this album, check out that song. Want to mention Perfume next with the album Plasma. It turns out that this is a bit of a cult band in themselves, actually, with the fact that quite a few of their earlier releases have quite a strong reception, particularly on the Rate Your Music website, which is a good website for finding recommendations. There's a bit of toxicity on there, but what site in the world doesn't have toxicity, seriously? I mean, there's always going to be pretentious sort of opinions no matter where you go. If you want to label it as that, I don't really know. I think Rate Your Music is a great tool. In fact, finding that out that this band has a lot of really well received albums has made me interested to try out more, because this was one of their latest releases. I think it's like their 7th or 8th album, and it was pretty good, to be fair. They're definitely shoehorning themselves in the very, you know, over the top, overproduced electro pop feel that we're finding at the moment in the particularly, you know, Japanese, South Korean bands that come out and, you know, get massive. They're kind of falling into that category a little bit at the moment, but yeah, it's some solid J-pop stuff, and at times it gets really super sugary, I will say that. But it was a fun little release and has some really fun little bops on it. You can't go wrong. Next I want to mention NNAMDÍ, who is an artist I was aware of, actually, and I had heard one of their releases in the past as well, but I have included it on this list because I didn't know they had an album out this year. So it is a discovery that has been sent my way, and a pretty lukewarm response at that as well, because no one's really talking about this guy. But in terms of what he brings to the table, he's actually super interesting as an artist. Like, he is not just doing one thing at all. He is fusing ideas together. There's some hip hop in there, but there's also some other stuff that's kind of coming together in a really unique way. And he just has a really strange vision when it comes to creating music and crafting music, and I really appreciate it. Like, there's a real odd style going on here that doesn't necessarily always fully work, but the fact that he's just going for it just makes him super creative, and I really appreciate what he does. As I'd also describe this next pick here, we've got Stabscotch with the most what the fuck album of the year. I think on any given day this could be a 10 out of 10 album, and on any given day it could be like a 4 out of 10 album. I really can't describe how I feel about this band. I've also been aware of them as well before in the past. I think they have like an Uncanny Valley, something like that, one of their albums. It was something like that from a few years back that I've never tried. But trying this album was an absolute headspin. The vocals are absolutely bizarre. Like, he genuinely sounds like friggin' Morty from Rick and Morty at times. And I thought that before I'd even got to the track later on that has some kind of bizarre skit from Family Guy coming through. And it just kind of put the icing on the cake, the cherry on top of the cake, just to hear that reference to an animated series. I don't know if it's some self-awareness to the fact that he does have this weird sort of goofy animated voice over these ridiculously unforgiving instrumentals that are so heavy and brooding at times. I think it probably is some self-awareness in some ways there. But yeah, this was a weird album, man. I don't know if it's something I can stomach at all times, but I didn't want to just include albums on this list that I'm absolutely, you know, liking or I really like or anything like that. I did want to include some things that I found a bit weird, and also are something that could be loved by other people out there, because this band, there's something. There's no punches to be pulled with this next pick though. This Norwegian band Honningbarna, who are basically just a straight up punk, fiery, energetic band that creates some really, really heavy and speedy riffs, but also they do have an ear for melody, and there's some really great choruses on this thing as well. I'm trying to think of bands they remind me of. There's definitely some bands out there that I'm hearing in this music, but I can't quite pinpoint bands that I'm necessarily thinking of. Maybe some Drones in there, maybe some Ice Age in there, as a few name drops to kind of make some comparisons too. but also they're just really energetic and lively and really fun to listen to as well. It's a really good album, this. This next one has huge potential to be a bit of a cult hit as well amongst the singer-songwriter fans. Arima Ederra, who is an artist that not only has an album cover that reminds me of the Spelling album from last year, Turning Wheel, which was some people's album of the year for that year, but also has a bit of a style to her sound and her style and delivery that reminds me of some other sort of indie singer-songstresses out there that could, you know, have a bit of a softer approach to their music, a bit like a Julia Jacqueline and that kind of artist in that realm. And yeah, I think there's a lot to like here. There's a really, really nice attention to detail to some of the sort of instrumentals that go on here. Her vocals are really lovely as well. There's a tweeness to her voice that I like. It's sweet, it's easy on the ears, and yeah, when you look at some of the other albums that have been raved about this year in the singer-songwriter realm, I can't see why this wouldn't do well for people as well. I started on probably my favourite album that was sent my way, and I'm ending on an album that could potentially also be my favourite album that was sent my way as well. We've got to end with Suzi Analog. This is so good. Whoever sent me this knew exactly the kind of music that I like, because it's got some, you know, UK garage influence popping through, it's got some of that house influence coming through, and more importantly, it's got some of that footwork coming through as well, and I love me some footwork. Another genre that I really like country music, but as the year goes on, I don't tend to hear that many albums from that style of music, but when I do, I always really enjoy it. So I was so glad that not only was I sent a country album, but I was sent a footwork album my way to with this one. Some great stuff. RP Boo is on this album, the footwork legend. So Suzi Analog is really, really killing it with this. I think it's actually considered a compilation as well, so it's not even considered a full album, but I thought this was a really good listen and sounded exactly like it was, you know, structured as an album should be as well. Really good stuff here. Again, electronic music fans, be all over this. This is so good. And that's it. I think I've ended with 10 there, haven't I? Let me check my list. Let me make sure I haven't messed up. ooodisea, Jyocho, Suzi Analog, Charley Crockett, Duval Timothy, Perfume, Stabscotch, NNAMDÜ, Arima Ederra, Honningbarna. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom, we got the 10. We're here. 10 albums that you sent my way, 10 albums that you discovered for me, and that I have sent your way to the wider pool of people that could love any given album here. Sorry if I didn't quite get to mention a pick that you picked for me in this video. I could only narrow it to 10. I was sent more this year than I have before, so actually really nice to see more people getting involved in this, and maybe next year if the channel grows even more, I'll get sent even more albums, and it's going to get even harder as the years go by if that keeps happening, because I'm always going to have to find a way to narrow it to 10. So thank you. Please check out any of the albums I mentioned on here if they tickle your fancy. Let me know any other albums in the comments that weren't mentioned here that I could check out post recording this video as well. Have a good day, subscribe if you haven't already, be ready for more lists as well, and goodbye.